Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know it's been a minute since I've posted, but I read some cards on Instagram Live this week, and we're also in pre-eclipse energy and pre-Mercury retrograde energy, so I felt that a longer format video would be perfect to post up here on YouTube. So here I am, Christine Daisy here. I like to go by Daisy. So I'm going to kind of show you the cards that came up, but also talk about what happened in the reading. That feels like this week we've had that energy coming in. So the cards that came out from the Osho Zen deck were the politics card, where you see a person who has a mask on. They have two faces, and there's this like snake, you know, this energy. Here I have the cards, right? The politics card, you know, that like mask that they wear, and underneath it, you know, what's really underneath that mask. And this week we've had a lot of spiritual teachers, people, news, you know, talking about certain events. And I had this sense that like, what is going on? Like there's something that's going to come up in the space of deception, in the space of mischievous kind of energy, that it's like, you know, there's a consistent kind of hat trick that's happening in media, which is, hey, look at here at this sensational thing, and then this thing over here is happening underneath it or to the side. Are we drawing all the attention away from it, from this thing? This has been happening, I mean, recently, yes, forever, for a long time. This is a consistent strategy. So we really need to get smart to this kind of behavior. And this is something that a lot of people do, especially people who are narcissists, that narcissistic tendency, right? To pull the energy or attention, to gaslight away from what the issue is. Oh, hey, you know, I'm bringing this up. This doesn't feel right for me. And then they bring it and make it an issue about themselves. And then you're like, wait a minute, I was talking about myself. I was talking about what my needs were. I was talking about what was feeling violating to me. And then it becomes about them. It's like switching the victim role around. When people are not capable of taking responsibility, well, we know that certain levels of society, certain things in politics don't take responsibility, right? This is shown in people, this is shown in environments, and this is shown in places. So when it comes to a certain spiritual teacher who's in his 80s, who's from Tibet, right? There's all this sensationalization of media too. It's like we're on a constant roller coaster, everybody. We're on a constant roller coaster. There is never a time of peace. In a 24-hour news cycle, they want 24 hours worth of news. They're going to make sure that you have it, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's something that someone said. And sometimes, you know, we say dumb shit. Me too. Sometimes I say things I don't mean. Sometimes I say things in a way that are not at all, you know, what I meant. And they certainly aren't meant to hurt people. And they do. Because we are here on this beautiful planet to trigger each other and to bring up the shadow within each other constantly. And if we think of someone who's been a peace protector for decades, now coming out as someone who is harming, you know, our children or whatever, right? You know, they're saying the things that are inappropriate, and we are just going to completely negate all of that person's goodness based on this one thing, right? This happens a lot in our culture, and this happens a lot when we come to relationships with people. Is they will do something, they will say something, it will be inappropriate. How is that person? Also, this is the reason why we don't take responsibility sometimes, or we feel a lot of shame when something comes up, is because if someone finds out that you aren't, like, that you did something that was wrong, or you did something that was inappropriate, there is no forgiveness. There's no compassion. If we're just condemning people, for their behaviors. And I'm not saying, oh, let's make it okay. Absolutely not. We don't make things okay. But also, when someone does something that's wrong, look at both sides of things, right? When someone does something that's wrong, are we willing to allow them to take responsibility, to actually see what they did was wrong, to actually apologize, take ownership, remove the shame, right? Remove the stigma around actually taking responsibility for things. Do we even really give enough credit to people who need to, you know, if we want people to take responsibility, we're going to have to make responsibility more accessible. We're going to have to welcome them back in. We're going to have to forgive ourselves and them. And we're not going to have to like hold a grudge against it or resentment against it, right? And that's been coming up a lot this week. So that's my response to that kind of energy. In the space, the other card that came out was the no-thingness. So that's like, hey, everyone, instead of reacting, instead of this emotional roller coaster that we're all going on, how about we just wait and hold space and really see kind of what plays out? Because there's way more to the story than we even ever know. Always. There's way more to the story. Always and always. And so, yeah. So there's my reaction to kind of the energies and the cards that I pulled earlier this week and what came through in that space. And then let's do a little bit of a card reading for what is going to be coming in. What is happening? We are in, again, what I said was pre-eclipse energy. So if you've had a massive purging this week, if you felt ill, if you felt unwell, if you felt self-depreciating, if you felt defeatist, if you felt like a failure, if you've been kind of feeling like, am I ever going to feel well again? That's energies that have been purging out of us in the collective experience. And as high sensitive people, some of us highly sensitive people, woof. Some people aren't willing to feel those feelings. Some people are not willing to allow that vibration to pull out of them, that unworthiness, right? Unworthiness exists within the collective constantly. We are like living in that subconscious belief sometimes. And in order to transmute that, we have to acknowledge that it exists. We have to acknowledge that it's not true. You know, there was a part of me that was like wanting to take this energy of feeling all of that unwellness and then like rectify it, find people that I could, you know, talk to about it and rectify that energy. And I was like, I'm going to just hold myself in that no-thingness space and know that it just transmuted itself. It transmuted itself. So it's not always about having to pull everyone in. Again, right, there's that sensationalization of the energy, like, oh my God, I don't want to feel this all by myself. I need to bring other people into this. And then sometimes it's really not the time in this space to do that. Like, it's your responsibility to just hold that and see if you can transmute it all on your own. Okay. So the establish your domain card, boundaries, being able to exactly show up to whatever space you're in, even though it may not feel like home to you, and create home within yourself. Your home you take with you. Your home is your body, and your home is your life and your safety and your experience, and you take that with you everywhere you go. And sometimes when you meet situations that are brand new and you don't, you know, you can maybe have anxiety about it or whatever, right? It's about grounding into your own space. It's about grounding into your own experience, into who you are as a person, right? In order to meet that place. And also to share about who you are. Sharing about, like, when you go in a new space and you're foreign to it, well, how do you make friends or how do you create community? Well, it isn't about being isolated. It's not gonna make you friends with the people around you. Feeling isolated, feeling out of place. Maybe even bring that vulnerability, like, you know, I feel a little bit out of place here, but I would like to get to know people. This is not the way that we sometimes have conversations. This is Why do we, again, like, this is that stigma energy. We don't have those conversations because we feel shame in admitting sometimes when we feel out of place or when we feel like we can't connect to other people. And instead of opening ourselves up and allowing for people to meet us in that space, we rather not let anyone know. We'd rather not share about ourselves. And that's what's doing a detriment. That's what's keeping us kind of in that isolation status, right? We won't rewrite that story. We won't rewrite that experience. And if we are to share about who we are, there's lots of different ways to share who we are and to share what our experiences have been through your poetry, through your art, through your language, through your life, through your dance. Expression is incredibly important for humans. It has been since the earliest man. Neolithic, Paleolithic man was doing drawings on cave walls. We were expressing ourselves. We were always creating art. We are artists. We are artistic. We are creatives. We are always creating. It is part of who we are. Part of how our love is expressed is through the creation of poetry and art. Like, if that is not love, I don't know what is, especially when it's revealing of ourselves. My poetry is a revelation of who I am. It comes through me. It isn't necessarily things that are feeling comfortable for me to share sometimes. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's me taking my power back. Sometimes it's me claiming things. Again, in this card where it says establish your domain. If you are establishing your domain, you're establishing how your art expresses itself through you in this world. Yes. Your wisdom is expressed through these mediums, and it's your own unique frequency. And that's really important because a lot in this world, I understand, and I've seen it in myself, I've been that, and I know, and I see it in other people. We don't have original ideas. We don't have original ways of expressing ourselves. Sometimes we copycat, sometimes we imitate. We feel inspired by other people, and we don't necessarily take it fully into our experience and to be able to translate it through our own lens and in our own way. So it's important also in this kind of starseed, awakening, sovereign energy for you to take information in and create and be and make it your own instead of a copy of someone else's art, right? Like, why do people getting so up in arms about copyright, about AI, and about all of that? Because they feel that they're being infringed upon in their originality, right? Because AI is taking in all the information and then creating from that information. Well, what do you think we do as humans? We intake all the information around us and we create from it. Now, your own style, your own way of translating it, that is always going to be unique to you. No one will ever be able to take that from you. However, there are imitations, and imitations can be triggering. They are to me sometimes, like the way that people speak sometimes, the phrases that they use, the way that they express themselves. Sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah, that feels really similar to something that I've said or I've done. But, it could be a collective experience, or it could mean that someone really admires your work. And I know that they say they like, what is it? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery or whatever. And it's like, yes and no, because it's not your original, if it's not from your originality, if it isn't from your lens and your translation, then it isn't true to you. And you really need to be speaking from a space of integrity and authenticity about who you are and how you express yourself, and not how someone else does it, right? This is great to be inspired. However, take it into your own field and make it your own. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's see. In the pre-eclipse energy, it's also been really agitating energy. Perhaps you've been wanting to do a lot of things or get a lot of things done. Know that in the no-thingness, that means slow down. That means that there's more coming, that there isn't more to do necessarily, and that can feel kind of disruptive to our bodies, to our masculine energy, right? That wants to create and do and be. And we get to, in that space, Give him something to do, which can be, hey, we're resting this week. Hey, slow down. Hey, look at the trees, look at the, go out in nature, go out to the ocean, find a project that you can do that feels like you are accomplishing things, but isn't necessarily like giving into that agitated energy, right? Let's see. What else? It's a solar eclipse coming up next week, on the 19th, 20th. And solar eclipses are all about purging in the collective. Let's see. Yeah, we're here in our shadow work all together, aren't we? Aren't we, everyone? There'll be a new form of illumination coming with this solar eclipse. So you're going to be feeling that energy following into this next week. With the Mercury retrograde energy on its way, tech issues, don't sign any contracts, communication may be difficult. X's might resurface, also old energies might resurface, old belief patterns, things that need to be cleared again. Sometimes we're just like, I'm done with this. When am I going to be done with this? When am I going to be healed from this? When am I never going to return to it? There's always new layers, my friends, to be illuminated within ourselves and within the collective. And so understanding that you are not always just feeling your stuff. There are people who are unwilling to feel theirs. So you are possibly the conduit and the absorber of other people's inabilities to see and feel. And so you do it. Thank you for your service. And also you can just become the witness to it and become more neutral to the information instead of becoming highly triggered where it stresses you out and where it causes you to have an emotional reaction. Take a step back. Take a step back and just be like, maybe I don't know. Again, like that beginning, in the beginning, it's, oh my God, sensationalization. Oh my God, we have to make a big deal about everything. And then when we step back, we're like, maybe I don't need to make such a big deal about it. Maybe it isn't worth this huge amount of energy and time from me. Consider things in a slower pace. I love that. I love that. Consider things in a slower pace. You're allowed to just observe. If you have nothing to say, if you have nothing to offer, just observe. All right, loves. Have a beautiful week leading up to the solar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde. And I love you.